First Contact Protocol. The Galactic Conclave Station hung like a massive crystalline jewel against the velvet backdrop of space, its transparent domes and gleaming spires catching the light from the nearby binary stars. Within the Grand Chamber, representatives from over 300 intelligent species gathered for the quarterly summit, their voices, clicks, and telepathic communications creating a symphony of diplomatic noise. High Arbiter Zextoral, a towering mantis-like being with iridescent carapace and compound eyes that reflected the chamber's ambient light, tapped a ceremonial staff against the floor. The sound resonated through the hall, enhanced by acoustic amplifiers, bringing immediate silence. The 527th convocation of the Galactic Conclave is now in session. Zextoral announced, mandibles clicking rhythmically. Our first order of business is the application for membership from the species designating themselves as humans from the planet they call Earth. A ripple of curiosity moved through the assembly. Earth was a relatively recent discovery, the blue-green world at the edge of what most civilized species considered the galactic frontier. Initial scans had revealed a technologically advancing species, but the Conclave's observation protocols had classified humans as at least 2 centuries away from interstellar travel capability. The humans were not scheduled for contact for another 73 cycles, objected Ambassador Vril of the Arathi Dominion, their gelatinous form pulsing with irritation. Their presence here violates our most sacred first contact protocols. Zextoral's staff tapped again. Nevertheless, they are here. And according to charter regulations, any species capable of physically reaching the Conclave Station is entitled to petition for membership. How did they even find us? Rasked Delegate Morks of the Saurian Confederacy. Our station is shielded from detection by primitive scanning technology. Before anyone could respond, the massive ceremonial doors at the far end of the chamber slid open. The assembled delegates turned as one, many rising from their seats to get a better view of Earth's representatives. What entered was not what anyone expected. A single human strode into the chamber, dressed in what appeared to be a simple dark uniform with minimal ornamentation. Just a small blue and green insignia on the left breast. The human was female, of average height for their species, with short black hair and dark eyes that surveyed the room with calm assessment. She carried no visible weapons, no ceremonial offerings, no entourage of advisors or guards. Behind her, however, came the shock. A massive mechanical construct rolled into the chamber on metal treads, its angular form dominated by what was clearly an artillery weapon mounted on a rotating turret. The machine was painted in desert camouflage patterns, and emblazoned on its side was a simple designation. M1A3 Centennial. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several delegates activated personal shields. Others retreated to safety positions. Zextoral's compound eyes widened. Weapons are forbidden in the conclave chamber. The human woman smiled slightly. This isn't a weapon, High Arbiter. This is Lieutenant Johnson, my translator and diplomatic attaché. As if on cue, the tank's turret rotated slightly, and a mechanical voice emerged from hidden speakers. Greetings, honored representatives of the Galactic Conclave. I am Lieutenant Sarah Johnson, United Earth Diplomatic Corps. I apologize for my unconventional form. Our engineers determined this would be the most efficient way to house the translation algorithms necessary to communicate with all assembled species. The human woman stepped forward. I am Captain Alexandra Chen, representing Earth and its colonies. We apologize for arriving ahead of your schedule, but we intercepted your observation drones some time ago and decided to accelerate our introduction. Ambassador Vril's translucent body flushed dark purple. Preposterous. Our observation technology is undetectable. Captain Chen smiled again. Nothing is truly undetectable, Ambassador. Especially not when it's sending regular data packets back to this station. High Arbiter Zextoral tapped the staff 3 times in quick succession, a sign of extreme displeasure. Captain Chen, your presence here is highly irregular, and bringing the war machine into our sacred chambers is an act that borders on hostility. With respect, Arbiter, Chen replied, her voice steady. The fact that you immediately recognized this as a war machine rather than accepting my statement that it's a diplomatic tool tells me everything I need to know about the Conclave's approach to newcomers. A murmur swept through the chamber. Nevertheless, Chen continued, Earth wishes to join your conclave as equals, not as subjects to be studied, and eventually contacted when you deem us worthy. We've prepared the standard application materials. She gestured, and the tank, Lieutenant Johnson, extended a compartment containing a data crystal. Zex Toril signaled to an aide, who reluctantly approached the tank and retrieved the crystal. While your administrators review our application, Chen said, I'm authorized to answer preliminary questions from the assembly. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, a serpentine delegate from the Trescan amalgamation raised a scaled appendage. How did your species achieve interstellar travel so rapidly? Our records indicate you were still using chemical rockets less than a century ago. Chen nodded. Necessity, delegate. Earth experienced what we call the resource wars about 50 years ago. The conflict forced technological advancement at an unprecedented rate. When we discovered your observation platforms in our solar system, we reversed-engineered certain components. You stole our technology, hissed another delegate. We studied technology placed in our territory without our consent, Chen corrected, and improved upon it considerably. Ambassador Vrl's form rippled with agitation. The arrogance. You admit to weapons development, technological theft, and now you bring a war machine into our chambers. Humans are clearly too dangerous to admit to the Conclave. Captain Chen's expression remained neutral, but something changed in her posture. The tank beside her shifted slightly, its treads making a soft grinding noise against the polished floor. Ambassador, Chen said quietly, I wouldn't be too quick to judge Earth as dangerous based solely on our capacity for conflict. Every species here evolved through natural selection. Every civilization represented in this chamber has a history of warfare. The difference is that humans don't pretend otherwise. She gestured around the room. You all came here with weapons. They're just hidden in your delegation's ceremonial staffs, in your biotechnology, in your psychic dampeners. At least we're honest about our capabilities. High Arbiter Zex Toril's compound eyes narrowed. You claim every delegation here is armed. That is a serious accusation. It's not an accusation, Arbiter. It's an observation. Chen pointed to the far corner of the chamber. The Quantar delegation has 3 assassin drones disguised as ornamental floating spheres. The Arakthi have genetic packages that could dissolve half this station within hours. And your own staff, Arbiter, contains enough energy to vaporize this entire chamber. Silence fell, heavy and tense. Chen continued, her voice softer now. Humanity doesn't pretend to be perfect. We've spent most of our history fighting ourselves, but we've also learned from those conflicts. We understand that peace isn't the absence of the capacity for violence. It's the willingness to choose cooperation despite that capacity. Pretty words, sneered Delegate Morks. But you still haven't explained why we should trust a species that shows up unannounced with military hardware. Captain Chen glanced at the tank beside her, then back to the assembly. Lieutenant Johnson isn't here as a threat. She's here as a reminder that Earth understands the universe as it is, not as we wish it to be. We know that respect comes from strength. We know that in the vastness of space, a species must be able to defend itself. And yet, she added, we came here seeking alliance, not conquest. We came asking to join your community, not to subjugate it. That choice, the decision to extend a hand in friendship while maintaining the capability for self-defense, is the essence of humanity. Before anyone could respond, the chamber's central holographic display activated. The aide who had taken the data crystal stepped back as information began streaming across the projection. Earth's history, population statistics, technological capabilities, military doctrine, scientific achievements, and artistic output. The delegates fell silent as they absorbed the information. Earth's trajectory was unlike anything in the conclave records. A species that had gone from primitive combustion engines to limited interstellar travel in less than 300 years. Their technological growth wasn't steady. It came in explosive bursts, often correlating with periods of conflict. Most concerning to many delegates was the section on human psychology. Their remarkable adaptability, their capacity to form social bonds across genetic and cultural divides, their ability to endure extreme conditions, and their persistent optimism in the face of overwhelming odds. High Arbiter Zextoral studied the display with growing concern. Captain Chen, these capabilities exceed the projections of our most advanced models. If this information is accurate, Earth has somehow compressed a millennium of development into a single century. Adversity breeds innovation, Arbiter, Chen replied. Earth has faced climate change, resource depletion, internal conflicts, and the constant threat of self-annihilation. We either evolved quickly or died. The tank, Lieutenant Johnson, spoke again. Our historical records indicate that the Conclave has a practice of managing the development of emerging species, sometimes through direct intervention. Earth respectfully requests that such protocols not be applied to our world or colonies. Ambassador Vrl's translucent form darkened further. Is that a threat? It's a boundary, Chen corrected. Earth will gladly share technology, resources, and cultural exchange. We will abide by fair trade agreements and participate in collective security arrangements. But we will not accept external governance of our development path. Outrageous, shouted Delegate Morx. No species joins the conclave without accepting developmental oversight. It's how we prevent the emergence of destabilizing technologies. Chen's expression hardened slightly. With respect, Delegate, that approach sounds remarkably like keeping potential competitors in a perpetual state of technological inferiority. The chamber erupted into shouted objections and demands. High Arbiter Zextoral was forced to strike the floor repeatedly with his staff to restore order. Captain Chen, Zextoral said when silence finally returned, while your candor is refreshing, it does not inspire confidence in Earth's willingness to integrate with galactic society. The Conclave operates on consensus and mutual respect. We respect strength and honesty, Arbiter, Chen replied. We've observed your conclave for years. We've noted how the founding species maintain technological advantages over newer members. We've seen how resource-rich worlds are classified as protected development zones and effectively removed from their native inhabitants' control. She stepped forward, her posture straight but non-threatening. Earth doesn't wish to disrupt the conclave. We wish to improve it, to bring balance to a system that, from our perspective, appears increasingly stratified between haves and have-nots. The tank beside her moved slightly, its turret rotating to face the central display. I am transmitting additional data, Lieutenant Johnson announced. Earth's analysis of current conclave power dynamics and our proposed adjustments to create more equitable representation. The holographic display shifted, revealing a complex network of relationships between conclave member species. The visualization highlighted resource flows, technology transfers, and voting patterns that clearly demonstrated the disproportionate influence of the founding species. The chamber grew tense as delegates realized the extent of Earth's intelligence gathering. Their supposedly secret arrangements, their carefully managed hierarchies, all laid bare by this upstart species. High Arbiter Zextoral's compound eyes narrowed to slits. This meeting is adjourned for deliberation. Captain Chen, you and your attaché will be escorted to diplomatic quarters while the conclave considers Earth's application. Chen nodded respectfully. We understand, Arbiter. Earth awaits your decision. She turned to leave, the tank rumbling alongside her. Just before reaching the door, she paused and looked back at the assembly. One final note, honored delegates. The vessel that brought us here, the UES Prometheus, remains in orbit around this station. Its captain has standing orders to return to Earth with a full report if we do not make regular contact. She smiled once more, just our way of ensuring diplomatic courtesy. I'm sure you understand." As the doors closed behind the human and her tank, the chamber exploded into chaos. The Galactic Conclave had encountered many species over its long history, but none quite like humanity. A species that arrived covered in the metaphorical blood of its own struggles, unashamed of its capacity for both violence and compassion, unwilling to be managed or controlled. The debate over Earth's application would be unlike any in Conclave history. The balance of power. Captain Alexandra Chen sat calmly in the opulent diplomatic suite, reviewing data on a holographic display that hovered just above her wrist device. The room, designed to accommodate various species' environmental needs, had automatically adjusted to Earth standard temperature and gravity upon their arrival, a small courtesy that nonetheless revealed how much the Conclave already knew about human physiology. Lieutenant Johnson, still in tank form, remained positioned near the entrance, her turret rotating occasionally to scan the room. "They've been deliberating for 6 hours, Chen noted, checking the chronometer. "Longer than I expected. The Arakthi and Saurian delegations are pushing for immediate rejection," Johnson replied, her mechanical voice surprisingly nuanced for a tank. "The Quantar and Trescan representatives are advocating for probationary status. The founding species remain divided." Chen smiled. "Just as our models predicted. How's the Prometheus doing?" The tank sensors pulsed briefly. "Captain Rivera reports all systems nominal. The Conclave security vessels are maintaining their distance, but have increased scanning activity by 47% in the last hour. They're trying to figure out our capabilities," Chen said, nodding. "Good. Uncertainty works in our favor." A soft chime announced a visitor. The door slid open to reveal a tall, elegant being with translucent skin that revealed a complex network of luminescent veins, a Lumidian, one of the Conclave's founding species. "Captain Chen," the visitor said, voice melodic and soothing. "I am Envoy Thalassa of the Lumidian Collective. May I enter?" Chen stood and gestured welcomingly. "Please, Envoy. We're honored by your visit." Thalassa glided into the room, luminescent patterns rippling across her skin in what humans had learned was an expression of cautious curiosity. She regarded the tank with particular interest. "A fascinating choice of diplomatic presentation," she said, indicating Johnson. "Most species attempt to appear as non-threatening as possible during first contact. Most species begin with deception, then," Chen replied. "We preferred honesty." Thalassa's skin pulsed with blue light, amusement, refreshingly direct. "The Lumidian Collective appreciates this quality, even if some of my colleagues find it disconcerting." She moved to a seating area designed for bipedal species and gracefully arranged herself. Chen joined her, while Johnson remained by the door. "I've come unofficially," Thalassa explained. "The formal deliberations continue, but I wish to understand Earth's intentions more clearly. Your presentation was provocative." "It was truthful," Chen countered. "The Conclave presents itself as an egalitarian alliance, but our analysis shows a clear stratification of power and privilege." Thalassa's skin rippled with patterns of acknowledgement. "Systems evolve over time, not always as designed. The founding species bear greater responsibility for maintaining galactic stability and reap greater rewards," Chen added. "Yes," Thalassa admitted, surprising Chen with her candor. "But what alternative does Earth propose?" "Dismantling structures that have maintained peace across 20,000 star systems for millennia." Chen leaned forward. "Not dismantling. Balancing. Earth doesn't seek to destroy the Conclave, but to strengthen it by making it more equitable." "Noble words," Thalassa said, her luminescence shifting to skeptical patterns. "But you arrive unannounced, with military technology, revealing you've been spying on us for years. These are not the actions of a species seeking harmonious integration." Chen smiled. "They're the actions of a species that understands the reality behind the rhetoric. We've studied your history, Envoy. The Conclave was formed after the Nexus Wars, when the founding species, including the Lumidians, realized that continued conflict would lead to mutual destruction. You created a system that preserved peace by preserving your advantages. Thalassa's skin darkened slightly. You speak of matters few non-founding species understand. Because you keep that knowledge from them, Chen said. The developmental oversight protocols aren't about preventing dangerous technologies. They are about maintaining the status quo. Before Thalassa could respond, Lieutenant Johnson's sensors flashed red. Captain, detecting unusual energy signatures throughout the station. Power fluctuations in primary systems. Thalassa rose quickly, her skin pulsing with alarm patterns. That shouldn't be possible. Our systems are redundant and... The lights in the suite dimmed momentarily, then returned. A station-wide alert sounded, a low, pulsing tone that seemed designed to convey urgency without panic. Chen's wrist device activated automatically. Captain, this is Rivera from the Prometheus. We're detecting multiple unidentified vessels entering the system at high velocity. Conclave defense forces are mobilizing. Thalassa's skin had gone almost transparent with shock. The Wraith Collective, she whispered. They were thought extinct after the last purge cycle. Hostile force? Chen asked sharply. Beyond hostile, Thalassa replied. They're a silicon-based hive consciousness that considers organic life an evolutionary dead end to be eliminated. The Conclave defeated them centuries ago, but rumors of surviving enclaves have persisted. Chen's expression hardened. And now they're here. Lieutenant Johnson, combat protocols authorized. The tank's systems hummed as weapon systems came online. Ready, Captain. Thalassa's skin flashed with alarm. You can't possibly mean to engage. The Wraith Collective employs quantum-entangled weapons that bypass conventional defenses. Then we'll use unconventional defenses, Chen replied calmly. She activated her wrist device. Captain Rivera, deploy the Guardian Swarm. Acknowledged. Guardian Swarm deploying. Thalassa watched in confusion as Chen strode toward the door. Where are you going? To the council chamber, Chen answered. That's where they'll strike first. Eliminate the leadership. Johnson, with me. The tank moved with surprising agility for its size, following Chen into the corridor. Thalassa hesitated, then glided after them. You seem remarkably prepared for an attack you couldn't have anticipated, she observed, keeping pace with Chen's rapid stride. Chen didn't slow down. Earth's first protocol for any diplomatic mission: be prepared for everything to go wrong. The corridor ahead was filled with panicked delegates rushing toward evacuation points. Chen moved against the flow, Lieutenant Johnson clearing a path simply by her imposing presence. Emergency lighting bathed everything in an eerie blue glow. Station security systems compromise, announced a mechanized voice over the public address system. Unknown entities detected in central processing. All delegates proceed to emergency evacuation. The announcement cut off abruptly, replaced by static. They reached the council chamber's massive doors to find them sealed. Two security officers, large, reptilian beings with ceremonial but functional armor, stood guard. The chamber is locked down, one hissed at Chen. Return to your quarters or evacuation point. Chen stepped forward. The chamber is under direct threat. We have assets that can help. Your assistance is not required. Human. The guard replied dismissively. Lieutenant Johnson's turret rotated slightly. Captain, I'm detecting multiple quantum signatures inside the chamber. The Wraith entities have already breached. Without hesitation, Chen turned to the tank. Johnson, make us a door. The guard stepped forward, weapon raised. You will stand down or... He never finished the sentence. Johnson's main cannon rotated and fired, not an explosive shell, as the guards clearly expected, but a focused pulse of energy that caused the massive doors to simply disintegrate into fine dust. Beyond the threshold, chaos reigned in the council chamber. Swirling, metallic clouds, the Wraith entities, moved among the delegates who seemed frozen in place, caught in some kind of stasis field. High Arbiter Zextoral stood at the central podium, mandibles working silently, compound eyes wide with terror as one of the clouds approached. Johnson, wide spectrum EMP, non-lethal setting, Chen ordered. The tank's turret emitted a pulse of blue-white energy that spread throughout the chamber. The metallic clouds shuddered and lost cohesion momentarily, enough for some delegates to break free from the stasis field. They're using quantum phase technology, Chen observed. Johnson switched to tachyon bursts, dispersal pattern. The tank fired again, this time sending pulses of invisible energy that seemed to disrupt the very fabric of space where they struck. More delegates broke free, but the metallic clouds quickly adapted, their forms solidifying into angular insectoid shapes with gleaming surfaces. Primitive defense mechanisms. Came a voice that seemed to emanate from all the Wraith entities simultaneously, a cold, metallic sound that grated on organic hearing. Your species is unknown to us, but your extinction is inevitable. Chen smiled grimly. We get that a lot. She tapped her wrist device. Rivera, status on the Guardian swarm. Entering the station now, Captain. Awaiting target designation. Chen's device projected a holographic interface. She quickly marked the Wraith entities in the chamber. Targets marked. Execute containment protocol. Through the shattered doorway flew dozens of small, spherical devices, each about the size of a human fist. They moved with precise coordination, surrounding each Wraith entity and beginning to emit a resonant field that seemed to force the metallic beings into more solid forms. Quantum phase lock technology, Chen explained to a stunned Thalassa, who had followed them into the chamber, forces quantum-entangled beings into a single state, preventing them from shifting phase to avoid conventional weapons. The Wraith entities struggled against the containment fields, their forms stretching and distorting. This technology exceeds known parameters for your development level. Their collective voice stated, a note of confusion evident. We're quick studies, Chen replied. She nodded to Johnson. Lieutenant, if you would. The tank fired precise bursts at each contained Wraith entity. Where the energy struck, the metallic forms seemed to fold in on themselves, collapsing into inert lumps of dull metal. Throughout the chamber, delegates were regaining their composure, staring in shock at the human and her tank who had apparently just neutralized an enemy the Conclave had feared for centuries. High Arbiter Zextoral approached Chen, his mandibles clicking rapidly in what humans had learned was an expression of extreme agitation. How did you know how to combat the Wraith? Their quantum technology has been beyond our countermeasures for generations. Chen's expression remained neutral. Earth developed quantum phase lock technology as a theoretical defense against certain physics-bending weapons in our own arsenal. We never had to use it against ourselves, fortunately. You possess weapons that manipulate quantum states. Ambassador Vril asked, their gelatinous form quivering with what might have been fear. We possess many technologies, Chen replied carefully. Some developed for war, others for peace. All part of humanity's toolkit for survival. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Wraith Collective, a threat that had haunted the Conclave for centuries, neutralized in minutes by a species that wasn't even a member yet. Thalassa moved to the center of the chamber, her luminescent patterns shifting to command attention. Fellow delegates, we have witnessed something unprecedented today. The human representatives not only defended themselves but protected this entire assembly, despite our less than welcoming reception. Murmurs spread through the gathered delegates. Zextoral's compound eyes studied Chen with new intensity. The question becomes, what does Earth want in return for this assistance? Chen shook her head. This wasn't a transaction, Arbiter. We acted because it was necessary. Because despite our differences, we recognize the value of the Conclave as a stabilizing force in the galaxy. She gestured to the inert Wraith remains, but this attack demonstrates the flaw in your approach to governance. By restricting technological development among member species, you've created a conclave that depends entirely on the founding species for protection, a protection that nearly failed today. Delegate Morks stepped forward, scales bristling. You suggest we should all develop weapons like yours. Create a galaxy where every species possesses technology that could destroy worlds. I suggest, Chen replied evenly, a conclave where every species contributes according to their strengths, where technological development isn't artificially restricted but guided toward collective security and prosperity. She turned in a slow circle, addressing the entire assembly. Earth doesn't seek to dominate the conclave or reshape it in our image. We seek to join it, to strengthen it with our innovation, our adaptability, our perspective. Lieutenant Johnson moved forward, her imposing form somehow less threatening now that delegates had seen her in action defending them. The Wraith attack was merely the first wave, she reported. Our sensors detect additional forces gathering at the system's edge. High Arbiter Zex Toral clicked his mandibles decisively. We must evacuate the station before. Or, Chen interrupted, we could defend it, together. She activated her wrist device again. Captain Rivera, status report. The Prometheus has engaged 2 Wraith vessels, came the reply. Guardian Swarm has neutralized 3 more, but we're detecting anomalous quantum signatures suggesting they're attempting to open a larger portal approximately 20,000 kilometers from the station. Chen looked to Zex Toral. Arbiter, with your permission, Earth would like to coordinate with Conclave Defense Forces to repel this attack. The Arbiter hesitated, mandibles working rapidly as he considered the implications. Finally, he tapped his ceremonial staff against the floor. Permission granted, Captain Chen. The Conclave accepts Earth's assistance. Over the next 3 hours, delegates watched in amazement as human technology and tactics combined with Conclave defense systems to repel the largest Wraith incursion in recorded history. The UES Prometheus, revealed to be not just a diplomatic vessel, but a cutting-edge battleship, coordinated with Conclave cruisers, demonstrating combat capabilities that astonished even the militaristic Surian Confederacy. When the last Wraith vessel retreated through its quantum portal, the council chamber erupted in something humans would recognize as applause, a cacophony of sounds, lights, and telepathic emissions that collectively expressed relief and appreciation. High Arbiter Zex Toral stood at the central podium, now surrounded by representatives of the founding species, including Thalassa. The Arbiter raised his staff, bringing silence to the chamber. Today has brought unprecedented events, he announced, his voice carrying the formal tones of official proclamation. The Conclave has faced an ancient enemy and survived, thanks in no small part to the intervention of Earth. He turned to Captain Chen, who stood with Lieutenant Johnson at her side. The founding species have conferred and reached unanimous agreement, a rarity in our long history. Earth's application for membership is approved, effective immediately. Murmurs of surprise spread through the assembly. Such rapid approval was unheard of. However, Zex Toral continued, in recognition of Earth's demonstrated capabilities and perspective, we propose a modification to standard protocols. Earth will not be subject to developmental oversight. Instead, we invite Earth to join the Security Council as a founding member. Chen's composure slipped momentarily, genuine surprise showing on her face. Arbiter, we're honored by the offer, but Earth is hardly a founding species. Thalassa stepped forward, her luminescent patterns displaying what humans would interpret as solemn dignity. The Conclave was founded on the principle that those with the power to destroy have the responsibility to protect. Today, Earth has demonstrated both the power and the will to uphold that responsibility. She gestured to the chamber around them. The existing order must evolve or stagnate. Earth's perspective, harsh though it may sometimes seem to us, provides a necessary balance to our consensus. Chen nodded slowly. Earth accepts the invitation, with the understanding that our goal remains a more equitable conclave for all species, not just the founders. Noted and accepted, Zex Toral replied. He struck his staff against the floor 3 times. Let it be recorded. Earth is formally welcomed to the Galactic Conclave as a full member with Security Council status. As delegates approached to offer congratulations and establish initial diplomatic connections, Chen turned to Lieutenant Johnson. "Well, Lieutenant, that went better than expected." The tank's turret rotated slightly in what might have been a nod. "Indeed, Captain. Though I suspect some delegates remain concerned about our methods." "They'll adapt," Chen replied with a small smile. "That's what intelligent species do." Across the chamber, Ambassador Vril approached, their gelatinous form now a calm blue. "Captain Chen, I must admit I misjudged humanity's intentions. Your actions today speak louder than any diplomatic assertions." Chen nodded. "Earth understands that trust is earned through actions, not words. We look forward to working with all conclave species toward a stronger, more balanced galaxy." "And your unusual diplomatic attaché?" Vril asked, indicating Johnson. "Will all Earth representatives arrive in such formidable packaging?" Chen laughed, a sound that many delegates found strangely pleasant. Lieutenant Johnson volunteered for this specialized role. "But no, most of our diplomats come in standard human form. Though we do believe in being prepared for unexpected situations, a philosophy the Conclave might benefit from adopting more fully," Vril acknowledged. "Welcome to the stars, Earth. They will never be quite the same." As delegates continued to approach, discussing trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and security cooperation, Lieutenant Johnson's sensors detected a transmission from the Prometheus. The tank relayed it privately to Chen's earpiece. "Phase 1 complete, Captain. Earth's position secured. Awaiting further instructions." Chen's expression remained pleasant as she greeted another delegate, but she sub-vocalized her response. "Maintain standard protocols. The real work begins now." The Galactic Conclave had existed for millennia, its structures and hierarchies solidified through tradition and power. But in a single day, humanity had arrived, covered in the metaphorical blood of its own turbulent evolution, and changed everything. Not through conquest, not through deception, but through the uniquely human combination of preparedness for conflict and genuine desire for peace. Earth had joined the stars not as a subject, not as a junior partner, but as an equal, a species that understood that true diplomacy came from strength, honesty, and the willingness to stand and fight when necessary. The galaxy would indeed never be the same.